5 years later, he discovered the shocking truth about her tearful goodbye after hidden pregnancy. Jack wiped his greasy hands on a rag, the familiar scent of motor oil mixing with the suffocating nostalgia that clung to him. 5 years since Emma left, and yet every day felt like a repeat of the last. Both the rusted cars in the lot and his own dreams lay barren and forgotten. He could see it in the reflections of broken glass, the missed opportunities, the whispered promises that hung just out of reach. She had shattered his world, leaving behind silence engulfed in unanswered questions. Now, memories of their laughter haunted the shadows of the garage, each chuckle a knife twisting deeper into the heart of his ambition. What had become of his dreams to open his own shop? Each time he turned the ignition on another clunker, he felt it dying a little more, crushed beneath the weight of regret. He often wondered if she thought about him. More importantly, did she ever regret her choice? What if he had fought harder? As he rummaged through the forgotten remnants of his grandfather's attic that afternoon, he stumbled upon a weathered box, tied with frayed twine. The moment he opened it, he was greeted by a ghost from his past. Letters penned by Emma in delicate script, yellowed and creased. With bated breath, Jack unfolded the pages, each word dragging him down a path paved with memories that contradicted his everyday life. "Jack," she had written, "this is so hard." He could almost hear the tremor in her voice, see the pain in her eyes. Each letter added a layer to his understanding of their separation, revealing her struggles, her fears, and ultimately, the reason for her departure, a son he never knew existed. The truth lingered like smoke, suffocating his thoughts, twisting them in an agony he had never anticipated. How could she have kept such a secret from him? Anger and sadness battled within him, a tempest eclipsing the small flicker of hope that had once illuminated his days. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His determination to confront Emma eclipsed the work he had left undone. Jack's heart raced with every passing hour, his muscles tense as he questioned the implications of her choices. Was he just a young man trapped in memories of a naive past, or a father who had a right to claim what had been kept from him? In that cafe, would he see her and feel the old spark, or would the years of silence suffocate any chance of rekindling the bond they once had? On a day heavy with clouds, he found her sitting at a corner table, the shadows playing tricks on his mind. She was older, yet there was a flicker of the girl he fell in love with in her eyes. Jack felt a whirlwind of emotions surging within him, the very breath of anticipation tinged with the harsh sting of betrayal. The moment their eyes locked, the years folded into silence filled with longing. Just as he steadied himself to speak, a young boy appeared beside her, striking blue eyes meeting Jack's gaze with innocent curiosity. In that moment, Jack's heart faltered at the uncanny resemblance. Who was this child? How had she hidden him away? Did he carry a piece of Jack's soul? The air thickened, charged with unspoken truths, and every question felt like a hammer against his chest. What did this little boy want? Would he walk away after this encounter? Or would he find out what family truly meant? They were all caught in matters much greater than just the two of them, and Jack was standing on the precipice of everything he never knew he wanted. Jack's pulse quickened, each beat resounding like a war drum in his ears. The distant hum of cafe chatter faded into the background as he focused on Emma and the child standing beside her, a living testament to the life that had been kept from him. His thoughts churned violently, a mix of confusion and curiosity clawing for dominion. He was not prepared for this moment, yet now that it had arrived, it felt inescapable. "Is that our son?" The question slipped from his lips before he could contain it, raw and desperate. Emma's eyes widened, filled with fear and sadness. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. It was as if time had crystallized, freezing them in this tense tableau, where years of choices cascaded into a single moment. The boy, oblivious to the emotional tumult enveloping his mother and the man she had long left behind, tilted his head, surveying Jack with a mix of wonder and cautious apprehension. Jack's heart twisted as he caught a glimpse of himself in the boy's features. Those same high cheekbones, the faint curve of his lips. Had she truly kept him so sheltered from the world he was supposed to have had a hand in shaping? As Jack dug deeper into his imagination, a different version of life filled his mind. He envisioned road trips with his son, teaching him to ride a bike, sharing laughs over ice cream sundaes, illustrating the kind of father he had yearned to be. And yet, there he stood, a stranger to his own flesh and blood, paralyzed by the weight of unanswered questions. "Jack," Emma finally breathed, pushing through the moment's suffocating grip. "It's not what it seems." Her voice cracked, and in that split second, Jack saw the hurt etched into her features. Perhaps he wasn't the only one who had suffered. The pent-up emotions swirled, heavy and potent like oil slicks in water. But he wouldn't allow the rush of empathy to blind him to the truth. "Not what it seems?" he asked, his voice low yet sharp. "You had a child, and decided I had no right to know? How do you even justify that?" "Because I thought—" Emma faltered, and Jack felt a flicker of sympathy. "Because I thought you were better off without me. I thought you had a chance to pursue your dreams." "Dreams?" Jack spat, each syllable punctuated with incredulity. "You robbed me of every dream I could have had. Did you ever think I would have wanted to be part of our son's life?" At the sound of their voices rising, the boy stepped closer to Emma, instinctively seeking protection. Jack's heart sank. He didn't wish for fear to cloud this boy's perception of him, but he knew a confrontation was inevitable. Emma knelt beside the child, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. "Jack, he doesn't know. I wanted to tell you. I just didn't know how. How does anyone hide something like this?" Jack's voice hardened, emotions wrestling within him, blurring the line between anger and longing. "You made choices that affected more than just you." As Emma tried to reach for his hand, Jack recoiled, shaken by the proximity of their shared past. Could he forgive her? Could he even contemplate the possibility of being a father at this late stage? "Don't you see?" Emma continued, desperation creeping into her tone. "I did it for him. For us. I thought it would be better if he never knew you." Jack measured her words, but new thoughts broke the surface of his anger. There was so much he didn't understand about her decisions. The fear driving her, and the love she must have felt to protect their son. Just as he began to consider the fragile nuances of Emma's motives, clarity struck. "Then let me meet him," Jack demanded, determination rekindling within him. "It's time the two of us learned what family means." Emma held his gaze, and in that moment, Jack felt the weight of years of unanswered questions transform into a fragile hope. This wasn't just about reconciling with Emma. It was about stepping into the fatherhood he had never anticipated. As their eyes locked, the air crackled with suspense, all the unsaid things hanging heavy around them. Jack realized this confrontation was only the beginning. The truth about his son and how to forge a new path was still ahead. And in the face of uncertainty, Jack could sense the stillness before the storm. What would it mean to not only claim his role as a father, but to face the fears and burdens that came with it? He knew then that it wasn't just emotional scars that needed mending. It was their lives that had to be rebuilt. As they prepared to forge a new connection, another thought crept in. How would he maneuver through the challenges of parenting a child who had been raised without him? The answer felt elusive, adding to the ache in his chest, urging him toward an unknown future filled with potential and peril. But one truth loomed clear. The moment of reckoning was approaching, and he needed to gather every ounce of resolve he could. The journey ahead would demand more than he ever anticipated. Jack took a breath, steeling himself for the conversation to come, unaware that it would unlock truths buried deep within himself. Could he finally confront not only his past, but also the man he would become? Jack's resolve solidified in that brief silence, his eyes darting between Emma and the boy, now nearly bursting with the weight of the moment. The air around them thickened, charged with the kind of intensity that beckoned a storm. He had not just shattered a glass of his past. He had stumbled into an entirely new life waiting before him, fraught with unknowns. "Can we sit somewhere?" he asked, his voice steadying as he wrestled with his insecurities. He didn't want this confrontation played out in a bustling cafe. He needed a space where they could truly talk, where he could process what was happening. Emma's expression softened, and she nodded, still holding her son's hand tightly. The boy, unaware of the emotional cyclone his existence had unleashed, shifted his attention from one adult to the other with innocent curiosity. They settled into a quieter corner of the cafe, a nook separated by a flimsy curtain. Jack inhaled deeply, attempting to mask the uncomfortable tightening in his chest. He needed clarity beyond the hurt and resentment. Questions danced in his mind like fireflies, flitting out of reach. What kind of father would he be? What would this all mean for their lives? I don't know how to start, Emma finally admitted as they sat across the small table, the boy drawing doodles on a napkin. "Then start from the beginning," Jack suggested, leaning in slightly, his commitment to understanding outweighing the turmoil clashing within him. He needed to know. With an unsteady breath, Emma began recounting her side of the story. The whirlwind of emotions that had consumed her during the pregnancy, the fear of her family's disapproval, the responsibilities she felt choking her choices. Each word became an admission, each phrase a small path laid to perhaps redeem the coalition of their shattered lives. Jack listened, absorbing every detail, trying to read between the lines of her regret, the sorrow that marred her face. "Jack, I was scared," she whispered, her voice beginning to crack under the weight of her memories. "I thought if I told you, you'd want nothing to do with us. I thought it was easier for everyone." "Easier for whom?" Jack challenged instinctively, but a part of him understood the raw desperation underlying her words. They had both been carried by currents too strong to fight. "For me. For him," she retorted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I could be the mother he needed without the complications of our past." "But you didn't think it would rob him of a father," Jack interrupted, frustrated that this new reality could so easily be disregarded. His heart raced, an anguish rising within him. "Every decision I made was rooted in love, whether you believe me or not," Emma replied, her eyes glistening with emotion. "It was complicated, and I didn't know how to handle it." Her words hung in the air, begging acknowledgement. Jack couldn't dismiss the truth. Beneath the layer of anger was the damning reality. They were products of their choices, marred not by the loss of control, but by misguided intentions. The realization struck him, a wound barely healing, yet spurring him toward something deeper. "As much as you were protecting me from pain, you shielded him too. But a child deserves to know his parents." The taste of regret seeped into Jack's words. In that moment, he saw reflection in Emma's eyes, an understanding blossoming through mutual sorrow. But with that understanding arose a burgeoning resolve. Jack had an opportunity before him, not simply to reclaim lost time, but to craft a future, albeit laced with challenges. The boy's childish drawing distracted them. He had doodled a stick figure whose head was far larger than its body, capturing a moment of innocent creativity. Jack took a breath, envisioning a different future, one defined not by absence but presence. A father who could share experiences, guide and love unconditionally. "Let him know me, Emma." Let me be the father I never got to be, he ventured, each word solidifying his resolve. We owe him that. I can't promise it'll be easy, but I want to try. As Emma studied him, a flicker of hope ignited in her gaze, but it was soon masked by a fleeting shadow of uncertainty. The intensity of their discussion unveiled uncalibrated fears. Could they cultivate trust amidst the fractures of their past? Just then, the boy looked up, his innocent curiosity radiating warmth. "Are you my dad?" he asked, the question hanging between them like an uncharted territory. The query reverberated in Jack's mind, a seismic realization that they were on the brink of transformation. Here lay the nuanced layer of his commitment. To redefine relationships, to nurture and navigate through the complexity of parenthood he had never anticipated. But as light streamed softly through the cafe, illuminating the potential path before him, Jack felt the heaviness of his past loom ominously over their conversation. The real challenge had just begun. The next step required more than just willingness. It demanded vulnerability to unravel buried scars, and an immeasurable amount of courage. Jack knew it would push him beyond familiar boundaries, but a question loomed larger than the rest. Would he be resilient enough to confront his own fears and navigate the shadows of their history if he truly wanted a chance at redemption? Just as he contemplated the answer, a voice from the shadows of the cafe interrupted him. "You've been away too long, Jack. It's time you return and face the reality you left behind." Jack turned, eyes narrowing as they locked onto a familiar face, an apparition of his past. Every breath faltered, tension igniting anew in his chest. What consequences would this encounter unleash, and how would it change the fragile foundation he was trying to create? Jack's heart raced as he faced the figure that disrupted the fragile moment he had just begun to navigate. The familiar face of Kyle, an old acquaintance, felt like a ghost re-emerging from the depths of unresolved conflict. There was no mistake. Years of avoidance and avoidance had done nothing to diminish the weight of their history. Kyle's piercing gaze bore down on him, a challenging specter from the past that Jack had tried to leave behind. "Why now?" Jack's voice came out sharper than he intended, the intensity of the cafe's ambiance amplifying his simmering emotions. "What do you want from me here?" "Just came to check on you, man. You went off the grid," Kyle said nonchalantly. Yet the tone belied the gravity of his presence. Jack's defenses rose like a wall, but the vulnerability of his current situation left many cracks unshielded. He glanced at Emma, who was carefully monitoring the interaction, uncertainty pooling in her eyes. His decision to embrace fatherhood felt threatened, marked by the sudden intrusion of someone who represented a road he had tried to forget. "Did you really care, or were you just looking for a reason to come back into my life?" Jack pressed, conflict stirring within him. From the moment he'd learned about the boy and his newfound aspirations, he had vowed to build a future without the entanglements of his past dictating his choices. Kyle leaned in closer, defiance in his posture. "You can't just erase what happened, Jack. You've been running from it for years, but facing it might be exactly what you need." Jack turned away, battling the temptation to retreat from the conversation altogether. But the boy, his boy, watched from across the table, still oblivious to the tumult around him, scribbling carefree doodles on a napkin. In that fleeting glance, Jack felt the pull of responsibility weigh against the gravitational force of his past. "I'm trying to accept who I am now," Jack finally replied, his voice quieter but resolute. "And who I want to be for him." A slight smirk flickered across Kyle's lips, an unsettling mix of skepticism and interest. "But can you really? You think a running start is all it takes? You will keep stumbling over yourself unless you figure out why you needed to run in the first place." Jack felt the truth in those words, a sting that shook him to his core. The compulsion to escape had defined years of his life, leading him to detach from responsibilities and relationships, weaving a web of isolation that had now become glaringly visible. He grasped this pointed insight, feeling the faint beginning of self-awareness bloom within him. And yet, the storm inside him threatened to overshadow that flicker of understanding. There was safety in detachment. It was a way to avoid the inevitable confrontation with his own choices. If he wanted to succeed, he had to wrestle with the fear that had held him captive for so long. Kyle's voice dripped with challenge. Don't tell me you're still that scared kid hiding from the world. You need to confront what you've been through if you want to navigate how to be a father. He gestured to Emma. If you want to keep her and him in your life. Stop, Jack said, his voice firmer now, a protective barrier rising around his growing confidence. Yet, even as he said it, doubts clouded his vision. Could he truly accept the truth of his past and forge a new path without the burdens he had chosen to ignore? For every stride he took toward commitment, shadows loomed over his mind, whispering of failures layered in his history, of missed opportunities and lost connections. Emma's hand brushed against her son's, a grounding reminder of present joys. This boy, innocent and unknowing, represented everything Jack now desired. Leave, Kyle, he said finally, a firm resolution crystallizing in his voice. There was a new clarity taking shape. He would not return to the cyclical patterns of avoidance. He would confront them, even if the confrontation hurt. Kyle sighed, defeated, but not entirely silent. This isn't over, Jack. You can't walk away from this. As Kyle sauntered away, Jack felt the chill of unresolved conflict swirl around him. He turned back to Emma and the boy, exploring the warmth radiating from their small oasis amidst the storm, only to find the boy gazing up, wide-eyed with the innocence of a child. Are you really my dad? He asked once more, the question pressing down weightily on Jack's heart. Jack swallowed hard, grappling with the depths of that label he had yearned to embrace, yet felt wildly unqualified to claim. The significance of the question echoed with terrifying clarity, forcing him to confront the gravity of his decision. He suddenly felt the small seeds of confrontation sprout within him, understanding now that the past could not be so hastily buried. As he struggled to respond, another voice called out behind them, familiar yet foreboding. Are we ready to talk about how you're going to make this work, Jack? Because we have a long way to go. The presence of someone else from his past ignited the tension buzzing around them, the uncharted waters ahead deepening, and the complexity of fatherhood colliding with the echoes of unfinished business. What revelations awaited him next as he faced the consequences of both the past and the decisions stirring within him? Jack's breath hitched as he turned to see the newcomer, a woman who held familiarity, yet felt estranged, much like a distant echo of a life he was still learning to grasp. It was Sarah, a fragment of his past he had relegated to the shadows of his memory. The tension that settled between them bore down heavily, charged with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. Jack, she said softly, her voice cutting through the whirlwind of his thoughts. We need to talk. His stomach churned, the ramifications of their history surfacing like heavy stones in water. The last time they had spoken was laced with resentment, their relationship unraveling in a series of miscommunications that had left scars not easily forgotten. Is this about the boy? He asked, attempting to mask his unease with a charged tone. The prospect of having to defend his role as a father, still raw and uncertain, clawed at him. A part of him feared revisiting the past while knowing he needed to. He had accepted responsibility, but with each confrontation, new layers of doubt emerged. Sarah nodded, concern etching her features. It is. There's something you should know. Her gaze flitted to Emma and the boy, assessing their innocence in a situation that suddenly felt very adult. Jack held up a hand, both a barrier and an invitation. Let's not do this here, not in front of them. He could feel his pulse quicken as the weight of the moment amplified. The cafe around him, filled with the hum of conversations and laughter, felt more like an arena of judgment. Agreed, Sarah replied, stepping back to give them space. but the gravity of her words lingered in the air, tightening around his chest. Finding refuge in the solitude of the park outside, Jack grappled with the flickering flames of anger and anxiety swirling within him. Why was she here now? And what secrets did she harbor? "Why didn't you reach out sooner?" he demanded, the accusation heavy with the years of silence and their shared past. Jack had been trying to reclaim his narrative, but Sarah's sudden involvement threatened to derail him yet again. "Because I didn't know how," she admitted, pain lining her voice. "I thought you'd moved on. When you disappeared, it felt like I lost you forever." "Lost me? You were part of that loss too." He struggled against the tide of betrayal and the impulse to retreat once more. "Listen to me, Jack," she urged, desperate yet calm. "It's not just about us. You have something you need to understand about your son, about who you are to him." The tension crackled, merging fear with curiosity. "What do you mean?" Jack's mind raced, the looming question hovering over him like an impending storm. He had believed he had claimed this part of his life, yet the resurgence of Sarah reminded him how easily the past could infiltrate the present. "His name is Adam," she continued, "and he has a right to know the truth about his father. There are things that—" Her words trailed off, hesitation taking root. In that silence, Jack's heart quickened with both dread and determination to forge a new reality, unencumbered by secrets. Could he navigate this new path without stumbling into the same hidden traps he had avoided for so long? He took a deep breath, attempting to quell the building intensity within. "Just tell me," he urged, every part of him yearning to rewrite his narrative, hungry for clarity amid the chaos that had accompanied his journey to fatherhood. Sarah's expression shifted, her determination stealing. "He deserves to know about the choices I made, the ones that changed everything. You need to hear it if you're truly going to be the father he needs." In that moment, Jack understood that his journey was far from over. Each revelation, each connection from his past, would either tether him to old mistakes or propel him toward the man he longed to become. The silence surrounding them felt oppressive as he processed what lay ahead. With every word unspoken, Jack sensed the challenge and opportunity spread before him like a vast, uncharted landscape. Decisions loomed, each capable of either serving as a bridge to the future he desired or a chasm back to the man he once was. "Okay," he replied, the resolve threading through his voice. "Let's talk." As they began to delve into the intricacies of their past and the implications for their son, a chilling realization settled over him. Confronting the darkest corners of their history would not only require strength, but the courage to redefine who he wished to be. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows of uncertainty, Jack felt the weight shift. Armed with the desire to confront his fears, he was ready to navigate this new terrain. What truths lay hidden just beyond the surface, threatening to reshape everything he thought he knew about love, fatherhood, and himself? Jack stood beneath the sprawling branches of an oak tree, the veins of time etched in its bark, resembling the uncertainty swirling within him. As Sarah's words resonated, a series of memories flashed through his mind, remnants of a life he had fought to erase yet could never fully escape. His name is Adam. The name rang like a bell, reverberating through the fabric of Jack's consciousness. He shifted his weight from one foot to another, feeling anchored yet adrift in a sea of mixed emotions. His heart raced. A reminder of the stakes collided with the gravity of truth that could shatter the illusory refuge he had built. "Tell me everything," he urged, determination entwining with the fear that threatened to suffocate him. Each moment spent delaying the inevitable felt like a betrayal to the son he had yet to know. As Sarah spoke, each revelation carried the weight of fractured dreams and unsuspected paths. "After you left, I fought to make sense of everything. I thought I was doing what was best." Her voice trembled, laced with both a sincere plea for understanding and an undertow of regret. Jack ran a hand through his hair, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. Every sentence she uttered had the power to reshape their futures, both his and Adam's. The emotional chasm that had existed between him and Sarah suddenly felt like a bridge, spanning the past with uncomfortable truths that demanded acknowledgement. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" The question erupted from him, revealing the raw edges of his vulnerability. He wrestled with the anger directed at her choices while grappling with the gnawing guilt of uncertainty. "I was scared," she confessed, her gaze faltering under the weight of his scrutiny. "I didn't know how to do it alone, to tell you the truth while feeling like I had no right to ask for your help. But Adam needs you. He needs to know who you are, who we are." Jack clenched his fists, the grit of determination surfacing amid the turmoil. Responsibility seeped into his veins, intertwining with the unhealed wounds of their shared past. "But who am I?" His voice trembled with dissonance. "I'm still trying to figure out who I am now." Her eyes softened with understanding, and Jack felt the fragile connection bridging old misgivings. "You've moved forward, Jack. You've fought through adversity. You're doing it every day. That's what he needs from you. A father who confronts himself, who learns to grow." The sense of moral obligation washed over him, flooding his vision with clarity. The journey of fatherhood wasn't solely about bloodlines or the decisions made by those before him. It was carving a new path, embracing imperfection, and embodying resilience despite the tumult. Jack took a step closer, pulling himself from the abyss of self-doubt that lingered. "You're right. But I can't do this alone. And I'm not sure I know how to be the father he deserves." "Then let's figure it out together. Adam is still young. There's time to change the story," Sarah replied, her voice steadied with hope. "He deserves all of us." As the concept of reclaiming his narrative tinged the air between them, Jack felt the fissures of purpose align. The prospect of confronting his imperfections and unveiling the truth felt both terrifying and liberating. Each heartbeat echoed an assurance that this chapter of rekindled truth could ignite a flame of growth within him, provided he was willing to embrace the complexity of the task ahead. Yet as they stood there, the weight of decisions clawing at his consciousness, Jack realized the looming challenge. To embrace not just his identity as a father, but the essence of partnership, the synthesis of shared histories and futures. He took a steadying breath, the garden of their choice expanding before him. "Let's bring Adam into it. Let's be honest." "Okay," Sarah replied, a flicker of gratitude shining in her eyes. "I'll support you." But as they walked together deeper into the park, a slice of doubt struck him. Would unveiling the truth strengthen their bond, or resurrect the very shadows they were trying to escape? The questions hung in the air as Jack glanced back at their past and forward toward their son's inevitable search for his own identity. The road ahead was unclear, and uncertainty gripped him anew. With each step closer to Adam, Jack pondered. What would the cost of truth reveal? Just then, his phone buzzed in his pocket, interrupting the fragile moment. He pulled it out and glanced at the message, yet a chill ran through him as he realized it was from an unknown number. "Jack, I know about Adam. We need to talk." Jack stared at the screen, the message hanging there like a dark cloud overshadowing the moment he had been steeling himself for. "We need to talk." It was simple, yet loaded with implications that sent his heart racing. The uncharted territory ahead felt increasingly treacherous. "Who is it?" Sarah asked, her tone betraying a blend of concern and curiosity as she noticed his sudden change in demeanor. "I don't know. It's from an unknown number," he replied, the weight of the decision to respond weighing heavily on him. This was not just about him anymore. There was an undeniable sense of responsibility that pressed upon him. He thought of Adam, the innocent boy who would now be swept into the storm of adult complications. A deeper resolve began to form within him. He was no longer the boy who ran away from problems. He had survived a wilderness filled with fears and failures. Now, he had the opportunity to confront the truth, to be the father Adam deserved, and perhaps even the partner Sarah needed as they navigated this uncharted path of revelation. "Maybe it's a scam," Sarah suggested, trying to pull him back from the brink of uncertainty. Yet her words felt inadequate, a flimsy lifeline in the storm raging within him as he held the device like a ticking time bomb. "Or maybe it's someone who knows about Adam, about everything," he countered, his brow furrowing with the implications of that thought. Jack took a breath. "I need to respond. I can't keep shying away from this." He hesitated for a brief moment, and then began typing a response, weighing each word carefully as if his life depended on it. "Who are you? How do you know about Adam?" Pressing send felt like a leap off a cliff without knowing if there was water below. A rush of silence followed. Jack could almost hear the thoughts weighing on Sarah's mind, evident in her unfocused gaze toward the horizon. Each second stretched endlessly, a reminder that time was running out, that he needed to take control. "Whatever this is, we'll figure it out together," Sarah said softly, as if sensing his internal conflict. He nodded, her support a comfort, but not without its own complexities. They had created a fragile cocoon of understanding, yet the world outside remained unpredictable, fraught with danger and unknown variables. His phone buzzed again, dragging him abruptly back to reality. Another message. "Meet me at the diner on Maple Street. I have important information about Adam. 6 p.m. The urgency of the request fired a shot of adrenaline through his veins. It was a risk, another leap into the unknown, but he sensed that this encounter could reshape everything. The boundaries of their family, the truths they would face, and potentially Jack's own understanding of himself. "Are you okay?" Sarah's voice cracked through the fog of his thoughts. Jack turned to her, the resolve hardening in his chest. "I need to go." "By yourself?" "Sarah, I can't drag you into this. I need to know." It echoed a truth he felt deep within him, that this journey was his to take. It was time to confront not just the unknown outside, but the fear lurking within him, the questions that begged answers. Just then, uncertainty struck him like a lightning bolt. Would this meeting help him understand Adam's life, or would it dredge up more dangers, more secrets clouding the notion of family? "Fine," Sarah conceded, the flicker of worry evident in her eyes. "Just promise me you'll be careful." The bitterness of past choices clouded Jack's mind. So many instances of hesitation that had cost him dearly. He couldn't let fear paralyze him now, not when the possibility of forging a relationship with his son hung in the balance. He inhaled deeply. "I will." As the sun began to dip lower on the horizon, casting long shadows across the park, Jack felt a spark of clarity, an urge to step forward into the unknown. Each decision was a step toward growth and confrontation, the keys to unlocking a complex future. But as he turned toward the path leading out of the park, a sudden sinking doubt gripped him. Could this encounter reveal truths best left buried, shattering the fragile hope that had begun to blossom between him and Sarah? With his heart pounding, Jack stepped forward, determination mingling with the chilling uncertainty of what awaited him. Jack arrived at the diner, the neon sign flickering ominously above the entrance. Each step felt heavy, as if gravity itself conspired to root him in place. He'd rehearsed how this conversation would unfold, but now that he was here, a whirlwind of anxiety swept over him. The very air seemed thick with unresolved tension, the kind that had haunted his dreams ever since he learned of Adam. He pushed the door open. A small bell jingled overhead, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in his mind. Inside, the diner was nearly empty, dimly lit, with just a few scattered booths populated by solitary figures lost in their thoughts. Jack scanned the room, looking for the person who might hold the answers to his most pressing questions. As he settled into a booth, his phone buzzed once more. The message was short and unsettling. "I'm here." He looked up, met a pair of intense eyes from across the room. A woman, dressed in a simple flannel shirt and jeans, waved slightly, her expression guarded yet urgent. "Thanks for coming," she said, sliding into the booth opposite him. There was something familiar in her demeanor, a reflection of both warmth and an unyielding edge. "You must be Jack." "Who are you?" he replied, trying to sound steady despite the tremor in his voice. This was more than an introduction. It was a confrontation of the unknown. "I know about Adam," she stated bluntly. Jack's heart raced. Every instinct urged him to turn back, to run from this conversation, but he didn't. Not now. Not when he had a chance to unravel the truth, and perhaps piece together the fragmented puzzle of his life. "Who sent you?" His words spilled forth with urgency. "What do you know?" She hesitated, assessing him. "My name is Lisa. Adam is... He's a remarkable boy, Jack. But there are things you don't know about his past. About his mother." Her voice trailed off, laden with unspoken grief. For a moment, Jack's mind rallied against the hammering doubt tightening around his chest. Could she be a bearer of truths he wasn't prepared to hear? Still, his protective instincts surged. "What do you mean?" "The truth is complicated, and it might be painful," she continued, her gaze unwavering. "But separating fact from fiction is crucial. You deserve to know everything." He felt a surge of anger and confusion clash within him. "Why should I trust you?" "Because if you don't, you might miss the chance to understand your son fully," she replied. Her tone softened, buttoning the tension in the air. "This isn't just about you anymore, Jack. It's about Adam's well-being." Something within him snapped. The protective father in him fought against years of self-doubt, but now a flicker of possibility ignited in the turmoil. A chance to reclaim control not just for himself, but also for Adam. "Tell me what you know." Lisa leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There were secrets, hidden struggles that your son's mother faced. She fought hard to keep him safe. All of it. It happened 5 years ago, before you even knew." Jack felt the pieces of his past smashed together like shards of glass. A hidden pregnancy? Unspoken sacrifices? Fear clutched him. This was exactly what he had feared. Layers of complexity that could unravel everything. And yet, the deeper he delved into this mystery, the more he felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, not just for himself, but for his son. "Why didn't someone tell me?" "Because she thought you weren't ready to face the truth," Lisa answered softly, her gaze unflinching. "And part of that truth is going to change everything you thought you knew about both of them." As she finished, fire ignited in Jack's chest. The stakes just elevated, and each moment of hesitation was a step back for Adam. He needed to break free from the chains of his past decisions. A certain determination solidified within him. Jack could no longer shy away from truths or the implications they carried. "Tell me everything," he demanded, urgency lacing his tone. What was on the horizon was no longer just about meeting ownership of difficult truths. It was about claiming his place in Adam's life, fully and fiercely. But as Jack sat poised for revelations that could shatter or rebuild, a chilling thought crossed his mind. If he uncovered painful truths, could he handle the consequences of what they would reveal not only about Adam's mother, but about himself? With each tick of the clock echoing in the diner, the journey toward understanding was only beginning, and with it came the realization that facing the truth about their past could redefine their future. In the midst of this electrifying atmosphere, a new wave of fear surged within Jack. What if knowing the truth meant losing everything? He braced himself for what was to come, not knowing that the revelations would lead him into an unexpected confrontation that might very well endanger everything he hoped to protect. The gravity of Jack's resolve hung in the air like a storm, palpable and electric. He locked eyes with Lisa, her face a mix of determination and concern. This was no longer a simple inquiry about his son. It felt like a trial by fire, a gauntlet he could not escape. "What did she do?" Jack asked, the words almost choking him. "Your son's mother, a woman named Emily, was fighting demons you can't imagine. She was terrified of how her struggles might affect Adam, from the moment she realized she was pregnant." Lisa's tone lowered further. The secrecy became her shield. Her goodbye was never meant to sever, but to protect. Jack struggled to breathe, the revelation fracturing his previous understanding. She had chosen a life without him for a reason, but he grappled with a need to know what could possibly justify leaving their child in the dark. "What happened to her?" he managed to ask, each word a possible entry into a cavern of despair. "Emily is gone. She passed away shortly after giving birth," Lisa said with a tightness in her voice. "She left behind a trail of pain and confusion that Adam is simply too young to process." Gone. The weight of that word bore down on Jack, threatening to collapse the very foundation of his existence. He felt a rush of emotions, anger bubbling up from the depths of his heart, mixed with a profound sorrow that radiated outward, consuming him. To discover he had been a ghost in his own son's life was an unbearable truth. Why was I not told? Why wasn't I there? His voice rose, uncharacteristically raw, collapsing the thin veneer of control he wielded. "Because she made her choices," Lisa said, her steadfast gaze meeting his fury. "Choices based on the fear that you wouldn't understand, that you wouldn't be able to handle the truth, that your life wasn't stable enough for Adam to flourish in." Jack's anger twisted into a complicated knot of rage, grief, and guilt. Emily's choice seemed to mock him. He had always assumed he could face anything, but now he was confronted with the reality that his perceived strength had led to this. "So what now? I just step into Adam's life as if I'm some kind of hero?" The bitterness dripped from his words. He could feel years of missed opportunities clawing at him, whispering accusations of incompetence. "No, Jack. This is not about being a hero. It's about stepping up and proving that you can be a father, a real one. It's about facing the truth of your past and overcoming it, no matter how painful." The resolve in her voice kindled a flicker of hope within Jack. Perhaps he could still be the father Adam needed. "I want that, but how do I start? It feels like I've shattered his world." "Start with honesty," she advised. "He's had too many shadows in his life. Be open with him about his mother, about your regrets, and create a space for healing." Jack felt the weight of her words settle over him like armor, echoing the transformative ideas of responsibility and vulnerability. But the fear loomed large. Could he face Adam with these truths? If he dug deeper into his own scars, would he find healing or just more darkness? He stared into the depths of the coffee cup in front of him, reflecting on the murky depths of the truth that lay before him. Jack's choice to embrace or evade this reality would ripple through everything. The path ahead was a chasm waiting to be crossed. And so with a resolute breath, he nodded. "I'll do it. I'll find a way to face him, no matter how hard it may be." The words solidified a resolve he had almost forgotten he possessed. Just as he made that promise to himself, the diner door swung open, and a rush of fresh air enveloped them. A chill ran down his spine. Even here, as he scanned the faces that drifted in, he felt like he was being watched, a twist of fate lurking in the shadows. Before he could contemplate further, Lisa reached for his arm, her grip firm yet supportive. "There's one last thing you should know, Jack. Emily left something for you, something vital to understanding her and ultimately Adam." Jack's heart raced. "What is it?" he demanded to know, desperation edging his tone. "I can't tell you here," she said, her urgency a jolt against the diner's placid ambiance. "But if we meet again, I can reveal it. Just know that it's a piece of the puzzle that could help you rebuild your life with Adam." Suddenly, the diner's warmth felt stifling. The complexity of what lay ahead was daunting, but with Lisa's promise dangling like a key to a locked door, Jack's determination ignited anew. He had taken the first step toward rectifying the past, a path laced with fear, yet lit with possibility. As uncertainty loomed ominously like dark clouds overhead, Jack prepared to confront Adam with truths that would surely challenge both of them. But the thought of what lay waiting, potential and pain intertwined, left a new, haunting question hanging in the air. Could he uncover all the secrets and still win Adam's heart? 5 years later, Jack stood in a sun-drenched park, the air buzzing with the laughter of children and the chirping of birds. This was a stark contrast to the oppressive silence of his life 5 years ago. The letters from Emma had acted as a catalyst. They had transformed him from a man haunted by regret into one who was willing to confront his past and embrace the future. Jack glanced at the boy playing with a soccer ball nearby. Adam. The name felt foreign, yet beautiful, like a melody he had longed to hear. Jack recalled his previous self, lost, trapped in a cycle of anger and bitterness. Now, he felt a newfound purpose surge through him. He had confronted the demons of his past. No longer the man who wallowed in missed opportunities, he had instead taken steps to become an active presence in Adam's life, forging a bond characterized by honesty and openness. There was a sense of pride in that journey. He had accepted Emma's choice to leave, understanding now that it was born out of fear, a desire to protect. Jack had found himself participating in parent workshops, learning how to navigate the often murky waters of parenting. He attended every school event, celebrated every small success Adam achieved, and shared details about his own journey, how his past decisions had shaped him, how they did not define his future. Their relationship blossomed, turning into an authentic father-son dynamic. They spent weekends camping, hiking, and laughing over pizza nights as they shared stories that built a solid foundation of trust. Jack reveled in the joy of teaching Adam all the things he had once envisioned, how to ride a bike, how to change a tire, and even how to fix an engine. One afternoon, sitting in their backyard surrounded by a bouncy castle and a pile of comic books, Adam looked at Jack with those striking blue eyes. "You know, you're not just my dad, you're my best friend too," he said, sincerity radiating from his young heart. At that moment, the weight of the world felt infinitely lighter. Jack realized he had transcended the man who used to drown in despair. He was now a father, a role he cherished wholeheartedly. When confronted with challenges, Jack demonstrated resilience he never knew he possessed. Each struggle had become an opportunity for growth, a chance to reinforce the bond with Adam, to prove to him that he would never walk away again. A few weeks later, the day of the school presentation arrived. Jack watched, his heart swelling with pride, as Adam confidently took the stage. He had prepared a speech about family, recounting their shared adventures, highlighting how they had found each other amidst the chaos of life. As Adam finished, the applause thundered through the gymnasium. Jack felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude wash over him. The boy who had once been a stranger was now a source of light in his life, a constant reminder of redemption. After the presentation, former friends and acquaintances, who had not been privy to the transformation Jack had undergone, approached him with a new perspective. They offered praise, recognizing his efforts not only as a father but as a resilient man reclaiming his life. Jack's journey had been long and treacherous, filled with regrets and revelations. But it had culminated in an undeniable achievement. He had created a life of authenticity and connection. He was no longer ensnared by his past, but instead empowered by it. As he stood there, watching Adam exchange high fives with his classmates, a smile crept onto Jack's face. He had not only fulfilled his role as a father, he had fostered a relationship grounded in love, respect, and understanding. In the fullness of that moment, Jack understood his personal growth wasn't just about becoming a father. It was about becoming a better man, one capable of accepting himself, failures included, and moving forward without fear. This was the legacy he would leave for Adam. That life contains both shadows and light. That every choice shapes one's journey. And that with resilience, anyone can build a future filled with hope and love. He took a deep breath, solidified by the weight of his accomplishments and the clarity of purpose towering before him. In the end, Jack had not only discovered the essence of fatherhood, but had also reclaimed his identity. Now, as he stepped into this next chapter, he felt an urgent need for others to experience similar transformations. You need to subscribe now to witness countless emotional journeys of transformation like Jack's. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and to share these invaluable lessons. We want to hear your reactions. Comment below about your thoughts on Jack's journey and theories about what's next. Don't wait. Even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need inspiration to overcome their own challenges. Every action you take supports the community of personal growth stories we strive to build together.